So hearing all this good information, I have 3 little boys of my own, 7, 5, and 2, and so part of me is like, oh my gosh, I never want them to play sports, and then the other part of me is like, let's get it done. Let's make it safe. So nutrition is my passion. I'm a sports dietitian. I work at the collegiate level, but one thing with the college athletes, they were youth athletes, and they're still youth athletes when I get them. So it's one of those things that it carries over from being young in the Pop Warner all the way up through college, and even their coaches. I'm telling the coaches the same things that I'm telling their athletes. So just as an example, I get a phone call, and I get this phone call often. Dad of a high schooler. Yeah, so my kid, he's 14, and I want to know what kind of protein powder to give him. So I have 2 questions. I said, what did he eat for breakfast, and has he gone through puberty? And there's an awkward silence because it's like, is she this creepy person who I probably shouldn't have called, or does she have a point? So the answer is usually, well, no, I mean, he hasn't finished growing yet, and he eats Pop-Tarts for breakfast, and so he gets food. He eats all the time. We can't keep groceries in the house. And so therein lies the problem. We have kids who are grossly overfed and chronically underfueled, and the answer lies in the tub of a protein powder. That's where the answer is. And it's so amazing to me that nutrition is a lot of times the missing link. It can be the link to preventing concussions or ACL injuries. If haven't eaten all day, well, your reaction time is slower, you're less focused, you're fatigued, you step wrong, you don't have the wherewithal to react quickly, so you hit heads with someone else. So it's one of those missing links to some of these injuries. Not saying that it's the fix-all, but it can be something that definitely can remedy some of these situations. So as an example of what our youth athletes eat goes a little something like this. So Pop-Tarts and orange juice for breakfast, and then lunch, if they have any money left over, because if it's Wednesday, they've already gone through all their lunch money and they have nothing left. So if they do have lunch money, there's pizza and French fries that are readily available at every school cafeteria. Then they go to practice at 2, 3, whenever they're out of school. They haven't eaten anything before practice, and then they have 2.5, 3 hours of practice. And then they really want to get better, so they lift after they get done with practice, because that's going to help gain muscle. When you have 0 calories and you lift weights, that helps. And then they get home and they eat everything in sight from the time they get home until they go to bed. And that's where Dad says, well, he eats all the time. We can't keep groceries in the house. You're right, because he went 12 hours before with not eating anything. So it appears that he's eating all the time, but he's really not, because he's severely energy deficient during a pretty large portion of the day. So then that's where the coach says, what do you mean you didn't eat? And the perception is, of course you know how to eat. Why would you not know? I mean, dude, you got to get grilled chicken, and you got to have broccoli, and you got to have pasta. And the kid is like, yeah, but there's only pizza and French fries. So I'm not supposed to have fried food. I'm supposed to eat grilled chicken. I just won't eat because I don't really know what to eat. So from a coaching and a parent standpoint, our kids don't know what to eat. We don't know what to feed them. And so to assume that nutrition is just everybody knows what to eat, everybody knows how to do it is so, it's not true at all. And so some of the solutions, and we talk about the great information that we've heard today, making sure there's an athletic trainer at every high school. In the nutrition world, there's one full-time registered dietitian that I know of in the country that works full-time in high school sports. One. So not one in every state, not one in Knoxville, one. And that school contacted me because they wanted to be on the cutting edge of nutrition and sports performance. They're really focusing a lot more on sports science, that sort of thing. So I had the pleasure of being able to place a person in that spot. And so, but it makes you realize how incredibly deficient nutrition is at the high school level. And people will say, well, do you have some handouts I can give to my athletes? Or, can you send me a meal plan that you give to your football players? It's not in a handout, and it's not in a meal plan. The three things that I think are incredibly important to focus on: the messaging, the audience, and the presence. So with the messaging, what I do with my athletes at Tennessee is we talk about fuel. Food is not food. It's fuel. So over the course of, I've been there 7 years now, over the course of 7 years, my athletes know that we don't talk about food as food. It's fuel. They'll text me and say, I didn't fuel very well before practice. What can I do? Or I need to make sure I have recovery fuel. It's just a messaging that takes, everybody thinks a dietitian wears a hairnet and tells fat people to get skinny. And so we have that awesome reputation that is kind of hard to shake. So changing the messaging is incredibly important. I don't wear hairnets, and I could probably outrun a lot of my athletes because I do what they do so that they listen to what I say. And so the messaging is important. I have, some of my athletes will call it the nutrition bar. I hate that. I said, it's my fueling station. It says on the wall, fueling station. And I even get so mad that if the football coach, he said before, what do you want it to be called? I said, it's a fueling station. When you have recruits come in here, don't call it the nutrition bar. And my brand now is Big Orange Fuel. I have a golf cart that I drive around campus, Big Orange Fuel. So everybody knows that's my brand and that's my message. And I think that is hugely important to communicate to the younger athletes, that food is fuel. And they want to learn. They love it. They think it's cool. They want to know what fuel is. They want to learn about supplements, which are not always great, but teaching them about them is important. And so changing that messaging is vital. Then you have your audience. Now, kids, like I said, they want to know. Whether I'm talking to a first grade class or a high school football team during preseason, the little kids are like, so my dog ate broccoli the other day and he got really sick. But they want to talk about that stuff. It doesn't make any sense to what you're saying, but they want you to know. So the other day, I drank a lot of water. And they are excited about it, and they want to tell you about it, and they want to do it. The problem is they're handicapped by the fact that they can't drive, they don't prepare the food, they don't shop, they don't make those decisions. So then your audience becomes your parents, which is also very important. So I've done a lot of parent group education sessions, and that's where you get the questions about what supplement should I give my kid, and then you talk about, no, we need to start with breakfast, and getting the parents to understand where it starts and how it can end, how to plan ahead, how to pack snacks, how to prepare meals in advance, how to get your kids thinking the right way, and the coaches as well, because the coaches, their thing, and like we heard, is why didn't you eat? And the coaches are the ones that assume that the athletes know what to eat and how to eat and when to do it. So you have these three different audiences that you need to communicate with on three different levels. So meeting with them separately is important, and then bringing them all together is also very important, because at that time when you can bring them together, the coaches and the parents can see what their kids are really asking and what their needs really are. Because the parents assume that the kids want fast food and protein powder, when really that's probably not it, and the kids can share what they do or what they're not eating and why they're not eating. And so it really brings a community together to be able to relay the same message and get the parents on board. Because if you have the kids by themselves and you tell them, yeah, this is what you should do, and they go to their parents and they're like, so I really want to make sure that we cook at least 3 times a week. And the parents are like, whatever, I don't have time for that. And so then it just completely smashes that poor kid's self-confidence and their excitement about eating well. And they're like, okay, well, all right, you're right. And so then they just continue to do the same bad habits that they had before. But if you talk collectively as a group with those 3 different populations, then it's like, yeah, she was saying some good stuff. Let's try to make 3 meals on a Sunday so that when you come home at 7 or 8 o'clock at night, you can just reheat it and do all that kind of stuff. So everybody's getting the same message. And then the presence. I know it's always a money issue. Nutrition is just another one of those things where there's just no money. We don't have enough money to hire someone to be full-time on staff. I get it, especially at the high school level. I understand. There's other ways to make sure it happens. Having someone come in a few times during preseason camp, during a football season, postseason, off-season, bringing someone in to have a presence. It's amazing the things that the athletes can learn on the spot. They're not reading a handout, unless it's on an app or it's via social media, they're not reading a piece of paper. So giving them a handout is not necessarily the right answer. It might be for some, but for most, it just becomes a piece of scrap paper. But being a presence, I can't tell you how many times, just because I am full-time and I am primarily with football all the time, they're sitting at the fueling station, they're like, oh, so I got to get groceries tonight. What do you think I should get for breakfast? Because it's the presence that's there. If I wasn't there, they wouldn't think about that, or maybe they would as they're in the parking lot of the grocery store, and then they would go get their frozen pizza like they always do. But because that presence is there, it can be incredibly important. Having someone available right before practice and for an hour after practice to answer any questions that the coaches, the athletes, the parents might have. Is it going to cost a little bit of money? Yeah, maybe. But what if that person comes and has a pre-practice snack available? And that's something that a booster provides. And they say, hey, that's a good idea. Let's do a pre-practice snack, and that sports dietitian can answer any questions before practice. But he or she is there about an hour and a half before, make sure that they're getting some fuel in them before they go out in the practice field. Maybe some of them didn't hydrate very well, so that person is helping them with those different concepts. And then they're there after to answer any questions about that kid didn't eat all day, and his choices are fast food or fast food because he's a growing boy and he's starving, so he will go get fast food. But what's a better choice? What's better than the 99-cent menu? So the presence is so incredibly important. With the dietitian who is at the high school level, she is just a teacher. She's a teacher who is also dueling as a role as the sports dietitian. So she teaches 2 fitness classes and a nutrition class. And then after school, she's available for any one-on-one consultations, and she works the practices, and then during the day she'll meet with athletes if she needs to, and she also works with the general student population. So she's meeting the needs of a lot of individuals as a teacher. So it's not something that has to be this crazy expenditure. Just add another, and it sounds so easy. Athletic training could probably be the same way. Just add another teacher. Have that athletic trainer teach a health class or something. But in our perfect world, it would be that easy, and it's not. But from a nutrition standpoint, I as I'm going through these ranks with my own small children and seeing the differences in, what parents do and what their interpretations of things are and what their perceptions might be, it's so enlightening to hear all of these amazing professionals who have the research and who have the experience, and to be able to take that information and kind of just share it, but also do the best I can as a parent to apply it and get other parents on board. And I think, the common theme has been that people want to know, but they're afraid. The hairnet and the fat, telling everybody they're fat, they're afraid of that. But when they know that we're really here to make sure that their youth athletes and their kids are being well cared for, I think that ultimately is the final goal. So I just want to thank Brooke for allowing me to be part of this. It's a passion that I think I didn't really know I had with youth athletes, so I'm really excited to be part of it and to see where this can go. So appreciate the opportunity.